Good morning and happy welcome to you all for this Unit 2 Reading and Writing. In the previous section, we learned about the listening and speaking skills involved in this chapter, and in this Unit 2, we will move ahead with reading and writing skills. Okay, for the warm up, let's get started with the uh, formal questions like what kind of books do you enjoy reading? Are there any books that you found boring? How do you go about reading your textbooks? Do you find them easy to read and comprehend? These are like warm up questions. Okay, warm up questions. And just think over these questions and find out the answers. Okay, if you like to read novels, what sort of novels do you like to read? Or if you like short stories, what sort of short stories you love to read? Or if you like poetry, or if you like prose, or whatever it is, or if you really like your textbooks, or if it's really boring, why it is boring. So you can just think over this as a preparation to get inside the subject or the content of this particular unit of reading and writing. You can get interested in reading only when your mind attaches towards the subject. Only then you can really enjoy reading that book. So these are the warm up like questions. We'll move ahead with the unit. What are all the strategies of reading? So the skimming and scanning, these are the two important strategies or techniques or skills of reading. So we have seen about this in the previous chapter, previous unit. We have talked about this. We will read further in this unit also. Skimming and scanning are useful skills of reading that will help the reader in reading effectively and comprehending the needed information precisely. Okay, the skimming and scanning skills are very, very important to a reader. This will make you read effectively and also to comprehend. What is to comprehend? Comprehend meaning understand. You can read effectively and also understand the information in a very correct manner. In an academic setting, when a book is prescribed, readers tend to skim through the description as well as unimportant information and focus on the passage which is most relevant to the assignment or a term paper on hand. The required information will then be read intensively. Okay, just imagine you take your English, for example, your class 12 English book. Do you sit and read the first page till the last page? Many of the pages you must have skipped. Many of the pages you must have not paid attention to, but some pages you must have paid so much attention and you must have read very extensively, very intensively, or special interest you will be given to some pages. This is called as uh, this just setting and just skimming through the important information and just rejecting the unwanted or unimportant information. For any book, the skimming and scanning technique is very, very important. Hence, the function of skimming is to get an overall grasp of the text and to gather the required information. Okay, for example, I give you a new textbook. You will skim through it and you will come to a conclusion. These are all will be very, very important for me. I don't think, on the other hand, you will think these are not very important for me. You will just segregate it as important and unimportant. That's very important. Then moving ahead with the skimming methods. When you are reading using skimming skills, you will predominantly use the following. What are all techniques you will use in the skimming method? Titles, subtitles, or headings. These are very, very, very important. Uh, for example, if I give you a passage, you will go through the title very carefully and also the subheadings and the headlines. These are more important, which will help you understand the topic in a better manner. So you will be concentrating on the title, subtitle, or the headlines. Next, the contents. The content of the book is very, very important. If I give you the book, if you are really a learned person, you will just look up the content of the book. The introduction. Introduction, many of you don't read in a textbook, but I think you have to pay much attention to the introduction of the book so that you can understand things in a better manner. And then synopsis. Synopsis is like subheadings that also you will look for in the skimming skills. Then chapter beginnings. Chapter beginning, for example, that will gain more interest in you. For example, the beginning, in the beginning lines of the passage or beginning lines of the paragraph is very interesting. You will be moved to read in more about the topic, and you will just attach yourself to for that particular topic. But when the chapter beginnings are not so important, you will not pay attention much. Then the paragraph, then the bold or italicized word. For example, when we send a message or whatever, when you read something, the bold letters or italicized letters will capture your attention. Why do we use bold? Why do you use colors? Why do you use italics? That just to capture your attention. When you are skimming through a book, the chapter beginnings, the paragraph, the bold italicized words, all these will capture your attention and make you understand things in a better manner. Then moving on to the review questions. I don't know how many of you will read the review questions that will help you understand the passage in a better way. Then the conclusion. All these are very important in the skimming. This strategy of skimming will be useful when you have to write a term paper for which you have to consult a large number of books. Using the above side methods of skimming, you will be able to select the books that you might use. Also skim for titles and subtitles to narrow down your academic requirement. When you are skimming through various books and websites for your assignment, remember to make a note of sources either in a notebook or in document on your computer. Okay, so as this subject communicative English, many of you came about with many suggestions of communicative English book, because communicative English is general topic and you will find number of books in the market telling the title communicative English, but the content of your syllabus is totally different from the content that are given in the books. You cannot reject everything saying that is not helpful for me. Communicative English is a roundabout topic. It's a very vast topic. So whatever you go through, whatever you read will be enriching yourself. It will enrich your knowledge. But your prescribed syllabus is so different. Okay, so you can read that to enrich your knowledge. Then this is the activity I gave you yesterday, and I hope you have answered this. That will help you understand the skimming and skimming technique. Then scanning. So far we saw about skimming. Now moving ahead with the scanning. This is a reading skill used for finding out a specific piece of information in a text which has a lot of information. It is a reading strategy where a reader discards a lot of unwanted information but searches for very specific information. So this is the crux of the scan technique. A reading strategy where reader discards means removes the unwanted information and searches for very specific information. When you are reading a paragraph, you just omit or you just reject all the unwanted things and you are searching for one particular word. For example, the topic about drug abuse, you must be searching for words like a drug abuse, misuse. So for these kind of words are will catch your attention and you will reject the unwanted information. And it's a important technique in the scanning. Then in skimming, an entire text is read fast to get a general information of the text. In scanning, the text is used to extract specific information. This is the basic difference between skimming and scanning. Then what are the steps to do effective scanning? The reader has to first ascertain how information in a particular text has been classified. This is an effective step in scanning for information from a source. Then, in some texts, information is presented chronologically. Chronologically may be alphabetically or in that ascending order, like that. It's called chronological. As in history books, some texts arrange and the information topically, that is contents, are based on topics. Reference books and edited books are classified topically. So this is the steps to effective scanning. Then moving ahead with types of reading. So first we saw about two effective skills in reading, that is skimming and scanning. Then we are moving ahead with types of reading, that is extensive reading and intensive reading. What is extensive reading? By definition, extensive reading is reading for pleasure. Many of us love to read books, so it is all for the pleasurable experience we receive from reading a book. Those who love to spend hours with a book are said to engage in extensive reading. In this practice of reading, reader does not stop to look at the meaning of every unknown word as it hinders. What is hindering? Hindering means to stop, to put a stop for the reading, hinders the flow of reading. However, the practice of extensive reading is known to improve fluency. Just when you read a lot of books, your experience is more pleasurable. So you are very happily reading a book. So that's called as extensive reading. In this practice of reading, reader does not stop to look at the meaning of every unknown word as it hinders the flow of reading. However, the practice of extensive reading is known to improve fluency. When you read a lot of books, you need not know the meaning of each and every line. That's why I say told to read the newspaper. You need not know the meaning of each and every line. Some lines you can skip. Some passages also you can skip, but the overall content, overall meaning, the meaning of the passage is what you have to understand. When you read number of passages and number of paragraphs like that, your fluency will improve number of in a fantastic manner. Then, while extensive reading can help in learning English as a second language, learners tend not to go in for extensive reading primarily due to length of the books. Okay, many of you would love to tell that, ma'am, I would love to read books, but something is stopping you because the length of the books, it is too long for you to read. You do not want to do that, go for the extra mile, walk that extra mile to read that length of book. So what do? You just don't start reading at all. Many of you stop your reading there. Who will read so much long book? So it is a great stoppage for this extensive reading. For a beginner who sets out to read, it is best to start with short stories. As I am also suggesting, it is best to start with short story. Even it can be of one page, or even it can be just half a page. Start to read short stories that will engage you in that reading pleasurable experience. That will do extensive reading on the short story, or even short funny stories or moral stories or whatever it is, that will help you acquaint you with that reading habit. Please do that. Next, for example, O. Henry's short stories have a very interesting twist in the end. Rabindranath Tagore is one of the finest short story writer. His stories are filled with humanism and pathos. So you can go for many authors, and a small example is O. Henry and Rabindranath Tagore. Then moving ahead with intensive reading. What is intensive reading? Intensive reading happens when a reader reads a text carefully and intently with absorbed concentration with a view to extract specific information. So that happens when you read for a examination. For example, you take your textbook and read for examination. You read the text very carefully and intently with absorbed concentration to get specific information. This is called as intensive reading. Extensive reading is totally opposite with intensive reading. Extensive reading you do for the pleasurable experience. You do it to improve your fluency. But intensive reading, you are reading to extract the specific concentrated information. Intensive reading helps different readers in various contexts. For a person who is learning English as a second language, this becomes an effective tool to learn grammar from a short text or poem. For those who aspire to clear competitive exam, the practice of intensive reading goes a long way. These exam tests one's ability to grasp ideas as well as ability for logical thinking and reason. So it is improving your logical thinking and reasoning. Intensive reading is helpful to even to clear the competitive exams, where they will give you a paragraph and make you answer a number of questions. That needs a lot of intensive reading. Don't think like short passages will be filled with all the answers. Some passages will be there where you have to think a lot to get the information. That is called as intensive reading. A researcher does intensive reading when he or she has to do a review of literature for their research work. For example, for their PhD thesis, or for writing a project, or for publishing a paper, you have to do a intensive reading. A humanities researcher reads through the research articles and tries to find a research gap, also to find a theoretical framework for her or his research. A scientific researcher looks at the findings of earliest researchers, studies the scientific methods, and then decides on his or her field of research inquiry. So these are all the ways in which intensive reading is done. All the research people, project doing people, those people who wants to publish a paper, those kind of people will do intensive reading. Okay, so this is the exercise I will be giving you at the end of this class. Okay, I want you to do this exercise for the next part of the assignment. Okay, hope this class was really very clear about the extensive reading, intensive reading, skimming and scanning. Go through the lecture once again for a better understanding. Thank you, dear students.